And now a story about a 911 call that may change the way you act and react in an emergency. This morning, a grieving mother is suing a police dispatcher from Aurora, Colorado. It's a wrongful death lawsuit. Susan Duval claims the dispatcher, Jeanette Price, did not react or send police quickly enough to stop her daughter's abduction and ultimate murder. Dismissing Duval's own desperate 911 call and one from an eyewitness who phoned in earlier. The calls have now been released, and we want to tell you more about this young woman whose name is Lay to Win. For the 21-year-old young woman, it was what she had feared. In 2001, her former fiancé, Omar Green, showed up at her workplace just as he'd threatened. A male eyewitness sensed terrible danger and called the 911 dispatcher.
He jumped through her window while she was squealing away. He's still in the car with her.
Okay, but are they yelling and screaming at each other? Are they talking? Are they fighting?
I think he's just telling her what to do.
Incredibly, the dispatcher told him to call back.
Normally, if they need help, they're going to fight or scream it or something. So they may have just been playing around.
No, I don't think so.
Minutes later, the victim's mother calls 911. Her daughter's co-workers had called her about the kidnapping, and that same dispatcher responded. The call lasted more than 8 minutes.
Yes, I'm calling to report that my daughter has been carjacked by her ex-fiancé in the car.
How do you know she was carjacked?
We're trying to get a restraining order on him because he child abused the baby last month. And he's been kind of like stalking her.
Okay, the thing is, we don't know exactly what's going on. I talked to somebody, she wasn't fighting, she wasn't struggling, she didn't yell at anybody.
Right, yeah, but I guess she tried to escape from him, but he still got into the car.
Okay, but we haven't even talked to her. Does she have a cell phone or anything?
No, she doesn't. What the problem is he's been stalking her. And she's moved in with me last month because he hit their 4-year-old baby.
I mean, because a lot of times they end up making back up together. They end up making up.
Right, well, that's not this case.
Well, we don't know because we haven't talked to her.
Right, I just would like to record it because I know she's feared for her life from him.
According to the new lawsuit, the dispatcher sent out only a low-priority call to police, who showed up nearly 1 hour after the call. They were too late. The next day, the young woman was found murdered in her car, her former fiancé convicted of killing her. And he has now been sentenced to life in prison. Joining us is that mother, Susan Duval, and she's joined by one of her attorneys, Greg Gull, representing her in the wrongful death lawsuit. And thank you. I know that was hard to watch, and watching you turn away. I know how you feel. I want to start with what you think is the center of this case, which is when you call 911, you expect the questions to be, what's the name of the car? Where are they heading? What is the name of the person? Looking back, what would you have done differently? Anything?
No, I did all I could do for her by just dialing 911.
You said that you second-guessed yourself. Maybe you should have been hysterical. Maybe you should have screamed.
I think, you know, when 911 is called, it needs to be responded to. You don't need to put yourself, you know, to change the point that you need to get across to. You know, it's an emergency.
You sat for a while to compose yourself, you said, just a couple of minutes, so that you could be clear and calm?
Exactly. Because I was so hysterical.
How afraid had you and your daughter been of this man?
Deathly afraid.
We counted, Mr. Gold, 11 times this dispatcher asks, is she fighting? Is she yelling? Is she fighting? Is she yelling? As you know, the dispatcher has been reprimanded, but the department says that she has to do that. She has to keep asking that and make judgment calls about whether she sends police or not, that they only have a finite amount of resources. Is this a fair response from them?
It is 11 times, 11 times. And what's even more incredible is in the first 50 seconds, she tries to get rid of the phone call, tries to put it away and say, well, if they come back, let us know. And what enters my mind when you say, is she kicking, is she screaming? I've been carjacked before.
You have been?
And so the first thing they tell you, I mean, the bad guys say, don't kick, don't scream, don't yell. And I don't think that's the telltale sign in terms of someone's being abducted. You have a situation in this case where they report that he jumped into the window. The tires are screeching. He's running away. They know there's a restraining order. And they know that she fears for her life. And they spend a considerable amount of time asking about whether they're kicking and screaming, whether they even know each other, too.
Ms. Duvall, as we know, this is an uphill battle for you because in Colorado you can't sue the government. Only for willful and wanton disregard can you bring an individual case as you're doing. And we should tell everybody that this is $150,000 is the cap on what you can win. This isn't about the money for you. Why are you going to these lengths?
Because the people need to know. I mean, to myself, my family, we feel she's as dangerous on the other end of the 911 call as any criminal is out there.
And the one sentence lesson for everybody at home calling 911?
Is get your point across. I mean, I don't think you need to prepare yourself before you dial those 3 easy numbers. They're always very hard to dial too, you know.
Even if it means yelling?
Yelling, screaming, taking time away from an emergency that you need to, you know, stress the urgency
for real?
Of, yes.
Well, again, thank you for being with us, and I know how tough this was. Thank you, Mr. Gold,
Thank
as
you.
well. We'll see what happens in this case and take a break now at 45 minutes past the hour.